Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question.
So yesterday, Ghislaine Maxwell testified before Congress. She was not at Congress. She was in her minimum security, cushy country club prison that Donald Trump has transferred her to. And she was asked, or was going to be asked, a series of questions. As I talked about yesterday, she planned to plead the Fifth Amendment. And as a reminder, the Fifth Amendment is about due process. It's about not being tried for the same offense twice. It's about you not being forced to testify against yourself in a trial. This is the text of the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital crime or otherwise infamous crime unless on the presentment of indictment of a grand jury. Skip all this other stuff. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of liberty, of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. So it's about due process. It's about how we run. You have the presumption of innocence. You can't be forced to testify against yourself. It is a seminal part of American jurisprudence, and it is something that we should respect. She has the right to do so. Although it raises a whole bunch of questions of exactly why she's pleading the Fifth, because they made a direct plea to Donald Trump for clemency. Look, I'll tell you everything I know as long as Donald Trump treats me special. That's ultimately what it comes down to. I got a brief clip here of how it began. She just is refusing to answer any questions based on this constitutional right that we all have. Her lawyer makes a statement. It all raises way more questions than it answers, and we're going to get to that. But first, let me show you this moment, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
This is David Marcus, and I just wanted to introduce her and make a brief statement. So members of the committee, on my advice, Ghislaine Maxwell will respectfully invoke her Fifth Amendment right to silence and decline to answer questions today, even though she would very much like to answer your questions. She must remain silent because Ms. Maxwell has a habeas petition currently pending that demonstrates her conviction rests on a fundamentally unfair trial. For example, jurors lied during voir dire to secure seats on the jury, and the government promised immunity and then broke that promise. Newly discovered documents now demonstrate these facts conclusively. If this committee and the American public truly want to hear the unfiltered truth about what happened, there is a straightforward path. Ms. Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. Only she can provide a complete account, and some may not like what they hear, but the truth matters. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to hear that explanation.
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Ms. Maxwell, did you at any time play any role in Jeffrey Epstein's activities involving the recruitment, grooming, or trafficking of young women or girls?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, have you ever coerced, directed, or otherwise instructed any young woman or girl to provide sexual favors to Mr. Epstein or any other individual?
So again, this is her right under the Constitution to do that. Any person, it's not an American citizen, it is any person. That's what the amendment says. So some of the questions I have are, why is she pleading the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination when she's already been convicted of the crime she's being asked about? First and foremost, unless, of course, she's guilty of other crimes that she doesn't want to incriminate herself related to. The other thing that is very stark, very, very dramatic here is she's already listen, Congress can't prosecute Congress is not a set of investigators or prosecutors who can bring to bear a grand jury and go to trial and try a case. They're lawmakers. They're not law enforcers. So the fact that she's already talked to actual prosecutors at the DOJ, after all, she spoke without any Fifth Amendment invocation to Todd Blanche, the former criminal defense attorney of Donald Trump, the personal private attorney of Donald Trump, is now the deputy attorney general of these United States. She spoke to him for hours without invoking her Fifth Amendment right. So what is she afraid of now? And why was she not afraid then? All of this raises a bunch of questions about exactly what the motives of this DOJ are. Obviously, we know what their motivations are, but this just lays it bare. She won't talk to Congress, who cannot prosecute her, but she will talk to Trump's DOJ, Trump's personal criminal defense attorney. I mean, there's no other way to look at this other than the fact that it is overtly partisan, that this is actually a plea to Donald Trump to extricate her with the pardon power that he has, with the power to grant her clemency. The very least, he could just say, okay, well, she's out of prison. She's done her time. She's paid her debt to society, and now she can be out of prison. Not a full pardon, just clemency. And if she's signaling to him, hey, listen, I'm not going to spill the beans. I'm not going to tell everybody what you did. Just pardon me. That's our agreement. That's what they just did publicly. And the statement of the lawyer raises a whole bunch of other questions. Some may not like what they hear, but the truth matters, he said. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to hear that explanation. Why would exonerating Donald Trump and Bill Clinton incriminate her? If she's going to say, yeah, they did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong, how is that incriminating? Why would she need to plead the fifth in order to exonerate Donald Trump, rapey Donald Trump, and rapey Bill Clinton? That just doesn't make any sense at all. It leaves us with far more questions than it answers. Now, again, I don't want to be one of those people online who offer nothing in comments and just say, well, are you surprised by this? No, I'm not surprised by this. But we should maintain our level of shock. This is a shocking incident in American history where a president is credibly accused of horrific crimes against young girls. And the Republican Party is here to just defend him. His friend is in prison. He moved her to a cushy location, one that is not usually allowed in the offering for convicted sex offenders, and yet she is there with little puppy therapy and a whole different slate of activities that would not be afforded her in a federal penitentiary that she was once in. But they want to keep her happy, or as happy as they can, so they transferred her to this. And now we're learning in the Epstein files that Donald Trump has been mentioned in tens of thousands of times. The Bible, Jesus isn't mentioned in the Bible as many times as Donald Trump is mentioned in the Epstein files. Let that settle. Settle in with that. And yet here she is refusing to answer questions from Congress because of her Fifth Amendment right under the Constitution, because of self-incrimination, the thing Donald Trump has said how many times, if you're pleading the fifth, it's because you're guilty. Is that right, Donald Trump? And again, listen, this is coming out. Massey and Ro Khanna had a press conference yesterday. I'm going to talk about that next. But we're getting to the bottom of it. It's coming much, much slower. But this cannot be stopped. Even MAGA world wants answers related to this particular item that Donald Trump rode into the White House for this second term on the back of. This is something he promised he would do. And now that he's there, he's like, I don't really want to do that because we're going to find out the truth about him and his crimes and the people he is associated with who also committed crimes. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video. You can also call my voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. If you find value in what I do and you want to help support this work, if you want to help me produce this content, this very show, you can go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. And there, for $2 a month, you can help support this work and the podcast and Brittany Page's channel, the whole umbrella of the content that is produced within the four walls of this studio. I would appreciate it very much. You can also become a channel member on YouTube. Same deal, $2 a month. They just take way more of your money, and I get less of it. There are no secrets here. It's to a fault. I shoot you straight.
But what I saw that bothered me were the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are likely incriminated by their inclusion in these files.
So yesterday we had Ghislaine Maxwell pleading the fifth before Congress, refusing to answer questions while promising that whatever she would say would extricate Donald Trump from guilt. Yet that very guilt extrication would also incriminate her. Well, doesn't make any sense, but well, whatever, we'll move on. The unredacted Epstein files have now been made available to Congress to go in. They can't bring photographic equipment. They can't bring anything to record anything, but they can take notes on what they find. And there's a whole bunch of questions that need to be answered about the 3.5 million documents that were just released. There's still like 3 million more that have not been released, even though the DOJ is saying that's everything. We did our job. We followed the law. No, the fuck you did not. And Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna has been on this show multiple times talking about this matter specifically and others. These are two individuals who are doggedly following this story, attempting to get sunlight on this, the great disinfectant of sunlight, so we can all, through a transparent lens, make up our own minds about what is taking place right now and what crimes our current president has gotten himself into in past decades. This particular press conference hasty. It was hasty. They just came out of the building and there's a bunch of cameras there and they talked to the cameras. But it leaves me wanting this to be a little faster. Both of these guys, look, I've talked to Ro Khanna about this multiple times, that I understand there's different styles and different ways of dealing with things. I'm a little bit more impatient, maybe impertinent. Okay, whatever. But I believe there needs to be some haste in how we're dealing with this. We can't allow Donald Trump to set the pace of the information being released. We just cannot. Justice delayed is justice denied. So let me start with this. I'm in my head. The silence is me trying to figure out which way to go here. So I think what I'll do is I'll just play the very first, when they come out the building and they come up to the mics and they start talking. They're talking about, there's specifically 6 names of individuals who were improperly redacted. We're going to find out those names. Hopefully, it is through someone being brave, I guess, doing their job, abiding by their word. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene has said, I'll just go on the floor and I'll read the names because of the speech and debate clause. Article 1, Section 6, Section 4. We'll get to that. I'll figure it out and I'll read the clause to you. But they have immunity. In committee, on the floor of the House, they cannot be prosecuted for the things they say in a speech on the floor of the House. It's a constitutional guarantee. It's protected by it. It's the way it was set up. And so all they would have to do is get the names, go to the floor, make a speech, name the names. They can't be sued for defamation. They can't be sued. They can't be criminally prosecuted for release of information. They can't do it. They're covered. And so all of these Congress people who are, oh, harumph, we need the la la la, I want to know what all they have to do is go to the floor. We're going to get to that. But first, here's the moment where they step out of the building where the redactions are held. And then for a minute or so, a minute and a half, they talk about what's going on here. We'll talk about all that on the other side. And then we'll move on to the speech and debate clause part, where they actually are admitting they know the names.
Yeah, sorry to keep you guys out here that long. Well, that was an interesting experience. It was. The user interface is a little clunky at first, but what I saw that bothered me were the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are likely incriminated by their inclusion in these files. So that's the first thing that I saw. It took some digging to find them. Then I'll let you talk about what you saw.
Well, and we discussed that. I mean, there are 6 men, some of them with their photographs that have been redacted, and there's no explanation why those people were redacted. And Thomas discovered it through his MIT logic with some of the searches. But, you know, that's really concerning. I think there are 2 other points. One is some of the internet concern about some of the more sensational emails. I mean, I do think it's important to recognize that some of the senders on that are women, and so some of the redactions may be appropriate, some may not be appropriate. We need to look at that. But just because there's an email out there, it doesn't mean that there's necessarily an improper redaction. The bigger concern is these 6 individuals. I will say that the staff was very professional in allowing us to do the searches. Our bigger concern is that there's still a lot that's redacted. Even in what we're seeing redacted versions. I thought we were supposed to see the unredacted versions, and that's because the documents produced to justice from the FBI, from the grand jury, was redacted when they got it. So we kept doing the searches for the unredacted information. It's the identical redactions that they have. Now, I don't think that's nefarious on the career attorneys that were reviewing it, but they obviously haven't gotten the production because our law says that the FBI and the original grand jury needs to be unredacted.
This is 2 United States congressmen of different parties, of opposite viewpoints on how the country should be run relative to policy, who are agreeing that there's a protection racket taking place right now. And I don't mean like the mafia, like a protection racket. I mean that the government has set itself and its power and its resources to protecting people who very likely committed heinous crimes against children. The Department of Justice is denying justice for victims. Now, to the point that I was referring to earlier about the speech and debate clause, any one of these people, Democrat or Republican, could take to the floor and name these names, including those 2 gentlemen in that clip, Thomas Massie or Ro Khanna. For all of the bluster, all they have to do is take the unredacted names, go to the floor of the House, and say who they are. It looks like they're not going to do that yet. They're kind of waiting for the whole thing to play itself out. But this is their excuse when asked that very question about when are they going to tell us the names.
Can you share with us the name of the 6 men that you identified?
I probably should do that from the floor or in a committee hearing.
And look, they should be releasing these documents. We have many avenues where we can compel that legally. Maybe they've done it out of oversight. I don't know. I don't believe that. But, you know, they should be releasing those documents, and our hope is to get them to do that. And then in some of the redactions, they need to be very careful on whether that was a survivor or not. Just because, for example, someone is female doesn't necessarily mean they're survivors. And it seemed like they blanket redacted anyone who was a female from my review.
Yeah, I would like to give the DOJ a chance to say they made a mistake and over-redacted and let them unredact those men's names. That would probably be the best way to do it.
That's what we need to be calling for. Not waiting Not we're going to see how we're going to give the DOJ the chance to do the right thing. We're going to give them the benefit of the doubt that these were just mistaken redactions. When are we going to stop as a culture, as a country, as a people, as an electorate, giving Donald Trump and this DOJ the benefit of the doubt? They have not earned that. They have not earned our trust or confidence. They are squandering the goodwill that the Department of Justice has ostensibly built up over the course of decades. And all they have to do is go and say the names. Article 1, Section 6 of the United States Constitution, it talks about the compensation that they will get, and then it says they shall in all cases, they being members of Congress, they shall in all cases, except treason, felony, and breach of the peace, be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the session of their respective houses, and in going to and returning from the same, and for any speech or debate in either house. They have immunity, privilege from arrest. Why not use it? Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was so hot and heavy about this. Where's she now? It's crickets for Marjorie Taylor Greene. She promised to do this very thing with the victims surrounding her, feeling all proud and the spotlight's on her. She loves it. It's clout. It's clicks. Oh, yes. Marjorie Taylor Greene promised she would do this, and where has she done? She has not done it. She will not do it because she is a liar who's only self-aggrandizing with her presence with the victims, her promises that are broken to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and other high-level men that we don't know the names of because they are being protected by this Department of Justice. Anyway, what do you think? Are you watching this? Did you follow this? Where am I wrong?
But I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation.
It is amazing to watch a guy, Howard Lutnick in this case, be called out when his lies crumble. Not often do we have a situation where so many men surrounding Donald Trump, who are now in very elevated positions of power, tell you emphatically that, oh, I had nothing to do with the Epstein. I was in his house one time and there was a massage table in the middle of the living room. I'm like, how many massages do you need? And he told me, I was like, oh, I was so grossed out. We left and I never went back, says Howard Lutnick. Emphatic, looking directly, making direct eye contact with the person he's talking to, emphatically denying ever having anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein after that day.
And speaking of distancing and denials, recall what President Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said just last year about a 2005 encounter that he had with Epstein at his Manhattan townhouse.
I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. Ooh. And he says, and the right kind of massage. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
So that's a denial. That's him looking straight into that person's face and telling him, I had nothing to do with that guy, right? Well, he was before a Senate committee, Chris Van Hollen, asking him questions directly about, where's the discrepancy here? You said with all confidence, just if anybody had given you the benefit of the doubt, they would have thought, wow, that guy's really telling the truth. And here was his answer when pressed. The island boy, Howard Lutnick, denying or having to deal with his previous denial when under pressure from a co-equal branch of government with oversight over his actions, asking him about that lie.
Lutnick, I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary, again, as I said,
That is a stark juxtaposition, is it not? That I will never be in the same room with that disgusting person ever again. And weeks later, we find out, and we had lunch on the island. My boat, I guess it was in the area. It was just like a magnet, like Donald Trump says. It's just like a magnet. I start kissing. His boat was like a magnet. The island was like a magnet in his boat. It just autopiloted there, and all of a sudden we're having lunch. I had nothing to do with it. These people are liars. And it is a wonderful thing to have it absolutely verified in a manner that even the most culty MAGA person can't deny. Howard Lutnick told you with a straight face, sternly, emphatically, no bones about it. I had nothing to do with him. When we moved in, I was next door neighbors with the guy. Nothing to do with him after I saw the massage tables. And then we find out, he was on the island. After the moment that he reportedly self-described cut off ties. That moment you just watched actually was the culmination of a couple of questions. It started like this. Listen, this is the energy we need from lawmakers. This is the kind of questioning and dogged following of this that we need. Chris Van Hollen, an amazing senator, an amazing representative for a constituency, an amazing Democrat who does solid work. This is what we need. Watch this.
Secretary Lutnick, as I said in my opening statement, you led people to believe that you had cut off all contact with Jeffrey Epstein after the 2005 encounter you and your wife had in his apartment. But as I'm sure you know, the Epstein files show a very different record of interaction. Why did the Epstein files show you coordinating a meeting and planning a visit with Jeffrey Epstein on his private island in December 2012?
Thank you for the question. I'm glad to be here to make it clear that I met Jeffrey Epstein when I moved to a house next door to him in New York, right? And I met him then. Over the next 14 years, I met him 2 other times that I can recall. 2 times. And that is none for 6 years. So 6 years later, I met him. And then a year and a half after that, I met him, and never again. Probably the total, and you've seen all of these documents, of these millions and millions of documents, there may be 10 emails connecting me with him, probably about 10 emails connecting me with him over a 14-year period. I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person, okay?
Barely had anything to do with him. That barely's doing a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting. I barely had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein other than the lunches on his private rape island. But we're to believe you now that you had your wife and your kids and your dogs and your nannies, your gaggle of nannies aboard your boat. Then there's the crew, the captain of the ship. All these people were there. Are we to believe you about that? Because you were very emphatic, very believable when you said you had nothing to do with him because of the massage table in the house. Which Howard Lutnick are we to believe? What's the saying that I talk about so often? Falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. If you're caught lying about one thing, it's pretty safe to assume you lie about a lot of other things, or all things can be considered lies. Now, that's a legal context, but it applies here. Donald Trump is a liar who has surrounded himself with liars who get caught in their lies and with straight faces continue to lie. What else did Howard Lutnick do, the island boy, with Jeffrey Epstein? I guess that is the question. What did he do when the nannies weren't there and the wife wasn't there and his kids weren't there? You think that was the only meeting he ever had on the island, that one lunch? After we've read the emails where he's begging to go to the island. When's the biggest party night? Yeah. Anyway, what do you think? I welcome you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. I will see you next time. Be genuine, be believable, be somebody that we can give the benefit of the doubt to. Don't be island boy Howard Lutnick. The first thing China will do is terminate all ice hockey being played in Canada and permanently eliminate the Stanley Cup. What do you do if you're the president of the United States and you are credibly accused of sexual crimes against children? Your best friendship with a notorious sex trafficker, a man convicted of seeking out teenage girls, 13 and 14-year-old children for prostitution. And that guy's your best friend. And then it all blows up and you need to create a distraction. Well, if you're Donald Trump, you create wars with other countries like Venezuela. You threaten wars against other countries. You bomb and then put boots on the ground, African nations like Nigeria. You create chaos in your wake. Oftentimes, though, the things that you do, if you're president of the United States like Donald Trump, I'm still running with the metaphor, you create distractions like this particular post last night on True Social, where Donald Trump is asserting that we're going to back out of an agreement that was made, that was penned, that was signed, that was agreed to. We're going to back out on our word as a nation, an agreement that was made in 2012 with Canada about this bridge, this Gordie Howe bridge that's going up between, I believe, Detroit and Windsor. Just an absolute liar who does not care about the good faith and credit and word of the United States of America. This is the post, and I just want to keep you in mind, have you keep in mind that this is absolutely just a distraction from the fact that Donald Trump is credibly accused of raping girls, right? This was at 5:43 p.m. yesterday evening, Eastern Time. As everyone knows, the country of Canada has treated the United States very unfairly for decades. As everyone knows, Canada has treated us unfairly. You fucking lunatic. Now, things are turning around for the USA and fast. But imagine, he does that, he writes just like he talks. Imagine it, think of it, imagine. Ugh. But imagine Canada is building a massive bridge. It's not building, it's built. Donald Trump. This entire process of getting this bridge built that Canada foot the bill for, to the tune of almost $6.5 billion with no contribution from the United States. It began in 2001. Anyway, I'll get to those details in a minute. But imagine Canada is building a massive bridge between Ontario and Michigan. They own both the Canada and the United States side. Of course, they own both the Canada and the United States side, and of course, built it with virtually no U.S. content. Content. President Barack Hussein Obama stupidly gave them a waiver so they could get around the Buy American Act and not use any American products, including our steel. They paid for the fucking bridge, you moron. Now, the Canadian government expects me, as President of the United States, as though we forgot that you're president. You don't need to remind us, dipshit. We know you're President of the United States. As President of the United States, to permit them to just take advantage of America. What does the United States of America get? Absolutely nothing. Ontario won't even put U.S. spirits, beverages, and other alcoholic products on their shelves. They are absolutely prohibited from doing so. And now, on top of everything else, Prime Minister Carney wants to make a deal with China, which will eat Canada alive. We'll just get the leftovers. I don't think so. The first thing, tell me you're a demented lunatic with early onset Alzheimer's who doesn't understand the basics of the basic things without telling me. The first thing China will do is terminate all ice hockey being played in Canada and permanently eliminate the Stanley Cup. Yeah, we're not a laughingstock, MAGA. You're not a laughingstock, MAGA. Donald Trump is a perfectly normal president that everybody respects and loves and reveres for his high-level analysis. China wants to cancel the Stanley Cup. You absolute... The tariffs Canada charges us for our dairy products have for so many years been unacceptable, putting our farmers at great financial risk. I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them. And also, importantly, Canada treats the United States with the fairness and respect, it capitalized so you know it's real fair and real respect that we deserve. We will start negotiations immediately, in all caps. With all that we have given them, we should own perhaps at least 1/2 of this asset that we didn't pay for. The revenues generated because of the U.S. market will be astronomical. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump, all in caps. This bridge has been under planning since early in the 2000s, 2001 to be exact. This is from CTV. Planning for a new Windsor-Detroit crossing dates to the early 2000s when Canadian and U.S. transportation agencies conducted cross-border traffic studies that found existing infrastructure would not meet future demand. A binational planning and feasibility study between 2001 and 2004. Who was president then? Somebody remind me? What? Oh, yeah, it was George W. Bush, a Republican. Between 2001 and 2004, recommended new infrastructure to handle long-term trade growth. Environmental approvals were granted in both Canada and the United States in 2009. Multiple presidents ago we're talking about. In June 2012, Canada and Michigan signed the Canada-Michigan Crossing Agreement, which allowed the project to move ahead. Under the deal, Canada agreed to design, build, finance, operate, and maintain the crossing through a public-private partnership. The agreement also states the bridge will be publicly owned by Canada and Michigan, even though Canada paid for the bridge. The cost, if you want to know, in 2012, the federal government of Canada, the federal government created the Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority, a crown corporation responsible for delivering and operating the project. A private consortium was awarded the contract in 2018, and construction began later that year. A total cost is now estimated at about $6.4 billion after increases and delays. They paid for it. And Donald Trump he's going to back out, renege on the agreement that the United States made because his word is not worth anything. He's a liar, continuing to degrade and denigrate the good faith and credit of the United States and our very word, our oath, our bond, the thing that when you sit across the table from diplomats, they know they can believe what you say because you have a track record of doing so. Donald Trump's trade representative, Jamie Sun-Greer, was asked about this and just carried water for the demented lunatic fascist fuck Donald Trump Watch this and marvel at the insane twisting yourself into a pretzel to try to make Donald Trump's comments palatable.
So is it all about the president using tariffs as leverage here again, a higher tariff on Canada? I mean, I remember in Davos just a couple of weeks ago, the Canadian Prime Minister was, he was really pushing back on stage against President Trump in his speech.
The thing to keep in mind with Canada is this is a country that's 75% dependent on the United States for its gross domestic product. We're always going to have some kind of a trading relationship with Canada. We have to make sure that it's fair. We have to make sure that it's equal. It goes beyond economics. It goes to defense partnership, burden sharing with respect to NATO, the Golden Dome that the president's trying to establish. Just by pure geography, we're right next to Canada, and it means that we have to have a relationship that is effective for both of us.
Yeah.
It can't be a situation where the Canadians have an antagonistic relationship or where we can't, on a very pragmatic basis, figure out common interests and come to an understanding.
Great points all around.
It can't be a situation where the Canadians have an antagonistic relationship. We began the antagonizing. Jamieson Greer, Donald Trump. You want to start a war, and then when the other country defends themselves, you whine and cry about retaliation. You want to be a bully, and when you get punched in your fucking face, you say, "Oh, I'm the victim here." Canada has done nothing wrong. Canada has been a good faith partner in governance of this continent. Canada has been a good faith partner in the economy and the trade relationship. We take advantage of them. The fact that they don't carry our booze on their shelves is only a measure of patriotism on the part of Canada to support Canadian products. We assault them and then whine and cry when they complain about being assaulted. And we have representatives of our government backing the play of this absolute moron who only intends to distract from the fact that he is credibly accused of raping children. And that's the guy we're leaning on for four-dimensional chess, MAGA. Where's QAnon when you need him? I thought the storm was coming and Donald Trump was going to expose all of the pedophiles until they found out, oh, wait, he is one of the pedophiles. We're a bad neighbor. We're a bad friend. And we have an outsized portion of low information fucking morons who elected Donald Trump to office. What do you think? I welcome you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. Of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. My Canadian brothers and sisters, I'd love to hear from you.
They encouraged Alex Pretty to put himself into harm's way. And they got their martyrs, didn't they?
The Republican Party has become such a cult for Donald Trump that they are just comfortable going on the news and saying batshit crazy things. Ron Johnson, the United States Senator in the United States Senate for the state of Wisconsin, just intimated on Fox News that Alex Pretty was a human sacrifice. He uses the word martyr, but if you parse his words and get to the actual root and the meaning of what he's intending to say, it's that there are powers greater than all of us that decided Alex Pretty, he had no agency in what he did. They set him there and he was killed and he's a martyr. They got their martyr and it's sick. It's sick, he says. While defending the killers of Alex Pretty and demanding that they continue to be able to operate anonymously with masks on their face, with no badges, no name tags, no identifying information. He loves the idea of masked secret police, of a Gestapo force, an execution force, killing American citizens, or martyrs, as he would call them. Watch this, and then we'll get to two other absolute nonsense things that he said in this interview.
When you saw Alex Pretty killed, it was terrific. What did you think? Because that seemed to be a Rorschach test for people.
So what ended up happening is the people who organized this, the elected officials who are encouraging this, they encouraged Alex Pretty to put himself into harm's way. So they knew that those people were endangered, and they got their martyrs, didn't they? They got their martyrs. No, it's a tragedy. I think it's sick. I think it's sick that elected officials would encourage their supporters, their trained activists, to put themselves into harm's way to impede and obstruct legal law enforcement actions. That is exactly what's happening. You have to face that reality. It's a sick reality.
Senator.
It is just a wonder to behold these people with outsized power over the rest of us covering for the execution of an American citizen. This dipshit watched the same video we watched, ostensibly, right? He's certainly seen the tape, right? It's his obligation as an elected representative of a constituency in the United States, a border state to Minnesota, in fact. For him to take away, like, it's this passive language, like Alex Pretty just happened to trip and fall and, oh, he's dead now, and take away the onus, the responsibility, the action of the ICE agents who emptied their clips into the back of the head and the back of Alex Pretty. He martyred himself, a human sacrifice for the ages. It's sick, he says. And all to defend ICE against the request, the demand, the natural inclination of decent people that we don't want a secret police force. Cops in your local municipality don't wear masks. And they tell this lie about how they're being doxxed. Well, if someone committed a crime, bring them up on charges. I want to see the indictments. I will support the prosecution of people who are putting the families of law enforcement at risk. We don't want that. But it's not happening because we're not seeing arrests. We're not seeing prosecutions. They're just saying it to continue to justify the rampant criminality, the abuse, the brutalization, the execution, the assassination, some would say, of American citizens, the disappearing of community members in communities all over the country, sending them to countries and even continents that they've never visited before. This is cruelty for cruelty's sake. Watch him here defend the nonsense about the masks.
Again, we see what has happened. They've been shot at. They've had their vehicles rammed. They have been doxxed. Why would they want to remove their masks? Because they want these officers exposed. They want them afraid. They don't want them to carry out their enforcement actions. They want judicial warrants, again, which would completely neuter ICE's ability to apprehend the 650,000 criminals that Biden led into this country. Again, you have to look at the actual reality situation. Don't listen to what Democrats say. Again, they're trying to be sneakily trying to neuter ICE here.
It is remarkable to me, still remarkable, not surprising, but alarming nonetheless, that a seated United States senator would absolutely take just a runny dump all over his oath to the Constitution. They want judicial warrants. It's gonna impede ICE, as though the burden doesn't fall on law enforcement by design. Ron Johnson, you know this. But you're also an anti-democracy ghoul who tried to end democracy in America by pressuring Mike Pence to not certify the election in 2020. Because you're also a conspiracy theorist and an ass lick for Donald Trump. Sorkin, the host there, actually drilled down a little bit on this. very thing about the masks, about wanting accountability. We want to be able to see who these people are. And Ron Johnson provided more batshit crazy answers to the request about the masks.
To the extent that you believe in law and order, how do you hold law and order and law officers, including ICE, accountable if they're wearing masks and in a system in which it appears, for example, even state investigators, state prosecutors are not allowed to engage in even investigations and the like?
Well, again, it'd be nice if you didn't have the trained activists impeding, obstructing, and threatening ICE officers. That's what they're threatening ICE officers. Now,
and those people, by the way, should be prosecuted. We should prosecute those people. Let's prosecute people who do that.
DHS is happy to have body cams, but now Democrats are kind of backing away from that because what generally happens with body cams, it proves that the law enforcement officers were acting properly in the face of threats to themselves and their own personal safety. So again, I'm all for body cams, but I completely understand why ICE officers would like to continue to wear face masks, particularly when it's cold, because they don't want to be doxxed and threatened by these trained activists.
Senator, it is a longer debate. I enjoy having that debate with you, and I enjoy the fact that you're always willing to engage with us, and we appreciate it very, very much.
Body cams aren't accountability. Body cams are a lagging indicator for the crimes. They are after the crime is committed. Oh, here, look at the body cam. You'll get to see what happened. It doesn't tell us who the person was, who did the shooting. It wouldn't have told us that it was Jonathan Ross in the case of Renee Good. It wouldn't have, the two names that are escaping me right now, who killed Alex Pretty, that have been released by, I believe, ProPublica. Raimundo Gutierrez and I can't think of the other guy's name. That a body cam wouldn't have told us that. But you know what will is knowing that you are not protected by anonymity. People, just look at how people act online or even in the comments of a YouTube video. They don't have their full name and face. They've got some cartoon or no avatar at all. No icon for who they are. They say the worst things because they feel emboldened by anonymity. And we have a force of individuals in ICE who feel that same power, that same infusion of confidence because nobody knows who I am. Yeah, I'll empty my clip after the guy's been disarmed. I will murder a United States citizen. I will brutalize old ladies. I will brutalize children. I will tear gas schools. No one knows who I am. It doesn't matter if their supervisors know who they are. We, the people, possess the power. And until we start making demands, we will be run over like we are currently being run over. Anyway, there's a whole bunch more here, but we'll end it there. I want your comments. Let's talk about this in the comments. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. Of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work. If I bring you value on a video by video basis, you can become a channel member on YouTube. Click the join button below. For $2 a month, you can help produce this work. The better option, though, is patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast, where you can support this work here from this particular dipshit or the thousands of others on Patreon who do good work and could use your support, especially if it's in this moment in independent media. So there are people on the ground from this community collaborating, coordinating, colluding one with another to terrorize the Haitian community in this town. So as a concerted, masked secret police presence is getting ready to inundate Springfield, Ohio, we're learning now that MAGA is creating chaos in the community. Bomb threats are now being called in to schools. The same crowd that was like, the kids have to go to school. It's going to be so much problems if they don't go to school during COVID. Oh my God. They don't mind kids not going to school if it means you get to harass and strike fear into communities because there are black people there. And that's what this is about. This is the same community that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance created out of whole cloth the story of they're eating the pets, they're eating the cats and the dogs of the people who live there. This is who they are. This is the headline, and then I'm going to play a clip to remind you of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance lying about this. The Springfield News-Sun. Bomb threats, suspicious packages in Springfield prompt evacuations. Bomb threats said that Haitian immigrants should be gone from Springfield were sent to several Clark County offices Monday morning. Just yesterday. This is the same community that the lie, the conspiracy theory that J.D. Vance copped to. I'll find that clip. But let's begin with this one to remind you of the insanity that we currently live in under Donald Trump. This got him into the White House. This moment that was so batshit crazy, Kamala Harris standing next to him could not help but laugh in his face at his stupidity.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
But the people are on television saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
And all of that is a lie. All of that was a lie, and it currently is a lie. Like 10,000 Haitian immigrants live in the Springfield, Ohio area. 10,000. Many of them have TPS, temporary protected status under the government, because of the violence and the chaos in their home country, that they would be in danger. So they come here for a better life, and they're protected by our government. Unless, of course, that government is helmed by Donald Trump. They're put in danger by Donald Trump with the bomb threats and the evacuations and the no school. And I'm sure harassment and violence at the hands of MAGA people who live in Springfield, Ohio. But all of this is a lie. The whole eating the pets and the cats and the dogs of the people who live there was a lie. J.D. Vance admitted that debate was from like September 10th or 11th of 2024, just before the election. Not even a week later, J.D. Vance was on with Dana Bash, where he admitted that he created the story to get the media to pay attention to Springfield, Ohio.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast. You had one interview with her. You talk about pushing back against me, Dana. You didn't push back against the fact that she cast the deciding vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which is why a lot of Americans can't afford food and housing.
You just said that you're creating a story.
Public policy.
Sorry, you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you created.
If I have to create a story, I'm going to do it. He admitted. He created it. He fabricated it. He's a fucking liar. And Donald Trump, on an international stage, they're eating the pets and the cats and the dogs of the people who live there. In MAGA world, because whether they know that it's a lie or don't care that it's a lie or believe the lie, they were here for it. As long as black and brown people get the boot of tyranny, they don't care what kind of bullshit Donald Trump says. As long as the outcome is the cruelest that it can be. And now the outcome is chaos in this community at the hands of Donald Trump supporters. The actions that you just witnessed from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they lead to this. Again, here's the headline. Bomb threats, suspicious packages in Springfield prompt evacuations. Bomb threat said Haitian immigrants should be gone from Springfield were sent to several Clark County offices Monday morning. Bomb threats that said Haitian immigrants should be gone from Springfield were sent to several Clark County offices Monday morning, Ohio Governor and Trump ass-lick Mike DeWine said at a press conference. The threats, referencing pipe bombs, included rhetoric similar to those in other states, though DeWine said it was unclear if the threats came from the same source. He said, quote, suspicious packages were found outside the municipal court and the public safety building in downtown Springfield, leading safety forces to cordon off the area. So there are people on the ground from this community collaborating, coordinating, colluding one with another to terrorize the Haitian community in this town at the behest of Donald Trump. And the incitement of Donald Trump, at the promotion of this idea of Donald Trump, who won't let them stop thinking about the cats and the dogs and the people who live there. Duffel bags were also found in the city in 2 different locations, DeWine said. Several streets were closed downtown. These include Fountain Avenue and Columbia Street, North Street, and Limestone Street. Springfield's city school district students are being dismissed early. This is a despicable act, said Trump sycophant DeWine. It's caused kids to miss a whole day of school today for the city. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, helmed by Donald Trump sycophant Kash Patel, is involved in the investigation, DeWine said, as well as the governor's public safety office and the Dayton bomb squad. They are on the scene, and we don't have any results yet that I'm aware of in regard to those bomb exams or those examinations of those duffel bags, DeWine said. A member of the bomb squad in a suit was seen going in and out of the public safety building, as well as a robot that has X-ray capabilities. Dayton International Air Force Bomb Squad was at the scene, as well as a canine unit. And then finally here, DeWine referenced a slew of bomb threats several Springfield government offices, schools, businesses, and people received in late 2024 after Springfield was thrust into the national spotlight when baseless rumors that Haitians were eating people's pets went viral. Most of those threats came from overseas, DeWine said, and Monday's threats are different, with someone being involved locally to place duffel bags. Now look, Mike DeWine, formerly Senator Mike DeWine from Ohio here in Washington, D.C., is not an honest broker. He's not someone to trust. He will bend the knee to Donald Trump whenever it is convenient and then back away and offer mild criticism, mild pushback. He's kind of a Susan Collins. Oh, I'm very concerned by this. But he's not here for the safety of the people in Ohio. He's not here for the safety of the immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. Oh, this is very concerning that there are people on the ground who are MAGA leaving duffel bags and putting the lives of first responders in jeopardy. Leeching off resources from, I'm sure, budget-beleaguered departments. You think Ohio's flush with cash at the municipal level? They don't care because they want to terrorize a black community again. Just like they've done in Minneapolis, just like they've done in Chicago, just like they've done in LA, just like they've done in New Orleans and others, in other cities all across the country. Anyway, what do you think? More MAGA chaos from the MAGA sycophants and the conspiracy theory bootlickers. I would welcome your contribution to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video. If you're on Facebook, like and follow the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily. Subscribe on YouTube. Those things are free. I would appreciate it.
We have to revise our expectations down significantly for what a monthly job number should look like.
Every once in a while, you get a clip that just really highlights the hypocrisy and lies of the Republican Party. And this clip is that. I haven't seen an example like this in a long time. For months, if not years, if not generations, Republicans have told you that immigrants are destroying the American economy. And now they're saying, those same people who said immigrants are ruining the economy are saying our economy is ruined because we've removed those immigrants. Seriously. Peter Navarro, just a few minutes ago on Fox News, said this very thing, that, listen, we need to recalibrate. We need to adjust our expectations of the jobs report tomorrow, warning you that, look, it's going to be bad. It's going to be atrocious. It's a nightmare out there. But it's only because we've kicked out a whole bunch of immigrants and now those jobs are unfilled and the economy is being hurt. Like, it's either way you look at it, it's no good, because either way, it shines the light of hypocrisy on the Republican Party. Immigration into the country benefits the country. Illegal immigration into the country absolutely benefits the country because they pay taxes to the tune of nearly $1/3 trillion every single year, and then don't receive the benefits that we receive as citizens. We'll get to all of that. I'll bring the receipts as I always do. But first, watch the floundering Peter Navarro just tell on the Republican Party.
One thing I want to note, the jobs report's going to come out tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have to revise our expectations down significantly for what a monthly job number should look like. When we were letting in 2 million illegal aliens, they're coming in. We had to produce 200,000 jobs a month for steady state. And by the way, all of the jobs that we were creating in Biden years were going to illegals. Americans were going to the unemployment lines. That's totally reversed. And now 50,000 a month is going to be more like what we need. So Wall Street, when this stuff comes out, they can't rain on that parade. They have to adjust for the fact that we're deporting millions of illegals.
That's a good
out
point.
Of our job market.
But it sounds like you're expecting a weak number tomorrow.
No, not expecting a weak number. I'm just saying that going forward, when we see a number under 100,000, we don't wring our hands. We say, yeah, that's going to be steady state.
Peter, great to see you.
It's all good, Maria. Always great to be with you.
Thank you so much for being here, Peter, and for your analysis always. Peter Navarro in Washington. We'll be right back.
Oh, you got to revise your expectations. Ooh, I wonder how bad it's going to be. I wonder how bad it's going to be. But the overarching narrative that I really want to drill down on is that how long have you heard that immigrants are destroying the American economy? Our economy is being ruined, destroyed by immigration. But also, it's being destroyed by the removal of those immigrants. And you should revise your listen, if you thought it was going to be good, if you thought Donald Trump was telling the truth about the golden age of America and the America economy, we're back. Before, we were a dead country. Now we're hot as a pistol. There's no country hotter than us right now. But also revise your expectations on the jobs report. And look, you don't have to take my word for it. I would never have you just take my word for it. I'm going to bring the receipts. And we're going to go to an unlikely source. We're going to go to the conservative, libertarian-minded Cato Institute, a think tank here in Washington, D.C., and what they have to say about the benefits of immigration, especially related to the economy. This is from The Cost of the Border Crisis. Thanks to freedom, America isn't a fixed pie. It's a growing pie. It is exactly for these reasons that so many people from around the world come to the United States. And it is exactly for those reasons that we should let them come legally. This is from a conservative outlet. This is not the Brookings Institute or the more liberal American Immigration Council that I'm going to read from next. I wanted to start with the uber conservative Cato Institute. In 2016, the National Academy of Sciences calculated the fiscal effects of immigration on the United States, finding that the net present value of immigration had an overwhelmingly positive impact on the U.S. economy in the long term. The National Academy of Sciences shared its model with the Cato Institute, and in 2023, we're not going back this isn't like, 2003. These are current, updated figures. And in 2023, Cato published an update of the National Academy of Sciences report that incorporated the latest data and research on immigrants' fiscal effects. That report found that immigrants, generate nearly $1 trillion in 2024 dollars in state, local, and federal taxes, which is almost $300 billion more than they receive in government benefits, including cash assistance, entitlements, and public education. That's a net benefit. They benefit the United States economy. So it should come as no surprise to anybody with their head screwed on straight that when you remove that element of economic engine from our country, bad things happen. Now, let's go to the more liberal American Immigration Council. New data, immigrants keep economy strong as Congress considers wasting billions on mass deportation. Undocumented immigrants are essential contributors to the economy. In 2023, undocumented immigrants households paid $89.8 billion in federal, state, and local taxes and held $299 billion in spending power. In total, immigrant households, both legal and undocumented, paid nearly $16.80 in every 100 tax dollars collected by federal, state, and local governments, funding a wide range of social services that benefit all Americans. They're funding things that they don't benefit from, and we do. That's one element of this. Immigrants inject trillions of dollars of housing wealth into the United States. The vast majority of immigrants are not dependent on state governments to guarantee them with housing. In reality, they are putting back vast sums of money into the housing market and revitalizing neighborhoods. In 2023, immigrant households paid over $167 billion in rent in the housing market and held over $6.6 trillion in housing wealth. And then finally here, immigrants help ease key labor shortages and are driving innovation and business creation. Almost 1 in 4 entrepreneurs in this country are immigrants. About 46% of the Fortune 500 companies were founded by immigrants or their children. Elsewhere, immigrants are helping ease the labor shortage in the healthcare industry, where nearly 16% of nurses and about 28% of health aides were immigrants in 2023. Look, and if you read through, I'll try to remember to put a Cato link. See, there's a reason for me having a pen in my hand all the time. If you read through the Cato Institute study, it is just page after page after page after page of proof with resources and annotations and footnotes proving where their sources are, that immigration is a net positive for the United States economically, socially. It's better for us. But Donald Trump wants a white ethno-state. We don't have enough people to do the jobs that are out there right now. Our unemployment rate is not historically low, but very, very low. There are jobs out there if you want them, and there's not enough people to fill them. So immigrants take up the slack. Undocumented immigrants really take up the slack because they pay taxes. It's not like they're immune from paying taxes, and they don't get benefits that we all get. So is it being destroyed, the economy, by immigration, or is kicking all of the immigrants out destroying the economy? Peter Navarro, tell us more, buddy. Tell us more. Anyway, I welcome you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below this video. If you're on Facebook, we are sprinting toward 100,000 likes and followers on the Facebook page. I would really appreciate you going over there to Facebook and like and follow the Dollemore Daily. Subscribe on YouTube, trying to get to 1.5 million. Those numbers don't make any sense being so far apart, but it's what it is. I would appreciate it very much. You can also call the voicemail line if you choose not to comment below, which helps the algorithms too. 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. I will see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.